COVID has created a crisis, and in a crisis, the people expect Congress to act. And this group has come together to propose action that could respond to this crisis. We've got people unemployed, we've got businesses shutting down, we've got states and localities getting ready for layoffs of large numbers of people. It's simply unacceptable for us not to respond to help in this circumstance. Now, I happen to be a deficit hawk. I don't like borrowing money. I don't like spending money we don't have. But the time to borrow money, maybe the only time to borrow money is when there's a crisis. And this is a crisis. We want to help people at this particular time. And so we've come together and we've been very careful. This is not a $1.8 trillion stimulus bill. This is a relief measure, half that amount, $908 billion. I would note that of that fund, $560 billion is money repurposed from the first CARES Act. So the amount of new money is actually $348 billion. I'd also make this note, and that is liability protection is critical. And you'll see in the chart, if it ever gets here from the printer, that we did negotiate a liability provision that provides a temporary moratorium on a temporary suspension of any liability-related lawsuits, the state or federal level, associated with COVID, giving states enough time to put in place their own protections. And let me note that any state that doesn't put in place protections hasn't been thinking this through very carefully. Because if I were a CEO, I would never think about putting a new business in a state that didn't have liability protection for COVID. Some states already have. My state of Utah has. So we're giving states the time to put in place their own provisions in the way they think best to protect their businesses, their schools, their hospitals, their universities, and to make sure that the people themselves are also protected. So I'm very pleased to be part of this effort. It's been a long and arduous process, but one which I believe has great merit. And with that,